is NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. Film review of NAIA football games is brought to you by Huddle. Huddle connects us with the teams so we can see all the coaches' game film and give you in-depth analysis on NAIA football. This program also airs on the Urban Edge Network. Download the Urban Edge Network app for all the NAIA Championship events, regular game days, and a whole lot more. You can see all of the NAIA on the Urban Edge Network. Download the app now. This program is part of all the great coverage on the VictorySportsNetwork.com for all the latest in NAIA football and other sports. Check out VictorySportsNetwork.com.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is John Gruden, the old coach, down here in Tampa, Florida, just studying some football. And I just got to tell you, there is nobody covering NAIA football like the Victory Sports Network. Nobody. They've been doing it for over 20 years, and they know how great football is at this level. Now let's get going. Here is NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. Let's go.
NAIA Football is the true version of what college football is supposed to be. And it is the best classroom experience an 18 to 22-year-old male can have. One of the most valuable parts of a college education is that experience. It's life in a microcosm, and it's just something special for a young man to have to experience.
And don't you let a moment go without thinking about what's there for you to reach out and grasp.
This is NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. I'm Jason Dannelly. Thanks for coming into another program yet in another week of fantastic NAIA football. I wonder why you're here. Maybe because we're approaching the final week of the regular season and you're thinking, does my team have a shot at the postseason? Who are they going to play in the postseason? How's that going to go? Are we going to wrap up? Are we going to fire our coach? Who knows? All these things and more coming up on the program. We're going to do an extensive analysis of how things are sitting as we head into the final week of the season and how things look for the NAIA Championship Series. But before we get too far gone, before we do too much here, let's go ahead and ramble through a couple quick games here as we get things set for our featured game breakdown with Pat Donnelly, who joins me momentarily. So a look at the slate of games here. A lot of setting up this week. A lot of this set up that because this set up that. Indiana Wesleyan's win over Lawrence Tech sets up a matchup between them and Siena Heights this week. The win by Taylor puts Taylor and Siena Heights in the tie for second place. If Siena Heights happens to knock off Indiana Wesleyan this week, there will be a three-way tie in the Mid-States Football Association Mid-East. Also, looking downward, we've got Reinhardt beating Point 69-10. That victory by them and the victory by Pikeville sets up an Essential Conference Championship game Saturday in the Appalachian Athletic Conference between Pikeville and Reinhardt. The winner of that game is going to go to the NAIA Championship Series. The loser is going to stay home. That's going to be it for that conference this year. Campbellsville beats Bethel 38-9. Lindsey Wilson knocks off Cumberland 56-37. Well, not really knocks off, but gets the victory. The Blue Raiders do. Lots of rushing yards in that game. All sorts of records getting set in that game. So now Lindsey Wilson is going to go up against Bethel in the final week of the season. If Lindsey Wilson wins, they're going to retain that at-large bid because Campbellsville is going to be playing Georgetown. If Campbellsville beats Georgetown, then Campbellsville is going to have the automatic. Lindsey Wilson will probably get an at-large, but if Campbellsville loses to Georgetown, well, we're going to explain it all here a little bit later on in the program. Georgetown did come from behind to beat Cumberland. St. Francis of Indiana ups their record to 8-2 with the win over the other St. Francis, 42-24. Southwestern still trying to keep those at-large playoff hopes alive with the victory over St. Mary, improving to 7-3 on the season. St. Thomas of Florida trying to do the same, trying to keep those at-large NAIA Championship Series hopes alive with a victory over Weber International. Montana Tech gets the win over Dickinson State. They are 10-0 for the first time in their program's history. And that's been a program that's been around for a long time. That's something pretty special happening in Butte right there. Friends, big victory over Sterling, 66-7 to also remain perfect. Benedictine beat Baker. They're in the driver's seat of the Hart Conference South Division. They'll play Mid-American Nazarene this week. MNU improving to 7-3 with their win over Missouri Valley. Mount Marty loses to Morningside. Dort beats Concordia, sets up a conference championship game in the Great Plains Athletic Conference. Who did the scheduling these, by the way? Whoever scheduled these looks like a genius. If you're in the Appalachian Athletic Conference, if you're in the Heart South, if you're in the GPAC, you look like a genius. You got a conference championship game the last week of the season. Olivet Nazarene, losers of 3 straight now, drop a game to St. Xavier, who's quietly become 7-3. 7-3, St. Xavier, and they are vying for a potential 3-way tie in the Mid-States Football Association Midwest Division. Marion gets their victory 62-0, as you see there. That sets up a conference championship game of sorts in the Mid-States Football Association Midwest Division between St. Xavier and Marion. There's a lot of stuff going on. There are a lot of things happening out there. I need somebody smarter than me to help me break it down. That guy is Pat Donnelly. That's why he's here. Hey, Pat, what a weekend, man.
What a weekend. I felt like you were speaking a different language there the last few minutes because there's so much going on. I almost need like an AI translator to take notes for me there. So many different scenarios. I know we have to talk about yesterday's games, certainly, but man, like huge games, obviously, implication, type games with all the scenarios that could potentially happen, going into Selection Sunday next week, a week from today. So man, oh man, a lot going on.
Or are you a fan of Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I'm not sure I'm a fan. I've watched every episode, and I still can't decide if it's a good show or not. I've only watched all 400 of them, but is it good? I don't know. There's
that scene where it's Charlie, I think. I like the clips I see. It's one of those programs I got to watch. But there's that like meme you see all the time where Charlie is like up against the board and there's all the lines driven everywhere. Like with that's what this last week was like in NAIA football. Well, this team beat this team, and then this thing happened, this here, and then this over here, and then that's what we were dealing with this week. Plus, when we get into our featured games, we had some upsets. We had some games that we did not fully expect, like what was going to happen ended up happening. So we'll get into that and a whole lot more here as we kind of move through the program. But we're going to have questions. We're already getting comments coming in on the stream. So if you've got questions about the NAIA Championship Series, drop them in the comments. Pat and I will get to them as things go. We had some great ones, though, this week. And there's a few things that I think kind of stood out in that opening bank of games, that I went through. I'll kind of flip back through real quick, like since I've got you here. Reinhardt gets a big win. Pikeville gets a win. There's a possibility that 5-5 Pikeville would make the postseason next year. That will blow people's minds. I can't wait. I can't wait for the rookies to this next week, but like, how can a 5-5 or even Reinhardt, how can a 7-3 team make it? It's like, because they're conference champion. Then you had Lindsey Wilson. I don't know if you paid a lot of attention to the Lindsey Wilson Cumberland game, but that got tight. Cumberland battled in that, and if Cumberland wins that game, they're talking at large down there because they do have 3 losses, but one of those losses was to an FCS school in Tennessee Tech the first week. So some arguments there as well. And then a nice win by St. Francis of Indiana, who you and I, when we talked on this program weeks ago, kind of after that second loss, we were thinking, well, it's probably going to do it for the Cougs this year. But they've turned things around. They've kept winning. And it really looks like they might have a nice opportunity here, potentially to make an at-large.
Well, I think they will now, Jason. And I think the win, obviously, over all of that is the crucial win. And I hate to say this, Jason, and I feel horrible because I could go back a few different times and say I'm like the mush. I mean, I was singing the praises of all of that like 2 weeks ago because I'm telling you, Jason, you go back and look at some of the great games this season in the NAIA. I think the Marion Olivet game was fantastic.
Yep.
And it was really like a slugfest, back and forth. And Olivet gave Marion everything that they could handle. Probably the best effort that they have seen outside of Indiana West was a great game. But that was really a great football game. And I can't tell you how many times Olivet would answer a Marion score, and it's a 1-score game down to the wire. And it's like they've just kind of fallen apart here lately. And again, St. Francis turns around and beats them the next week after the Marion loss. St. Francis has gotten their mojo back and is playing well. And then Olivet's just kind of fallen apart. And again, St. X is, you said quietly, a 7-3 team, beats Olivet now for their 3rd straight loss in a row. So I feel like a mush. I did 3 weeks ago with Campbellsville losing to Lindsey Wilson. Then it's Olivet talking about, I didn't feel good about the St. Francis, my alma mater, my former employer, Olivet playing well against Marion. Now St. Francis and Olivet playing against each other. I hate to say it, but I predicted Olivet to win that game. And, my Cougs win, which I'm happy about. At the same time, now Olivet's kind of falling apart, Jay. It's kind of a weird deal. And now the Cougars are now in really the driver's seat as the at-large now in the Mid-States West, which I think they are deserving, even though you hate to mention the rivalry loss, the 49-0 loss to Marion, which is a tough one. And that's not a great,
it's not great on the resume.
It's not a great look on the resume, certainly. But at the same time, arguably one of the best leagues, if not top 2 or 3 league in the entire affiliation, and they're number 2 in it. So there you go.
There's a couple leagues where the top team in that league has just absolutely blown everybody out. Friends is evident of that. You look at Montana Tech in their half of the league. I mean, I think their closest game in that half of the league was Dakota State, and that was 42-21, 49-23, something like that. So a couple touchdown game. So that it's happened. Well, I said, here I am kind of screwing this whole up. I said, hey, we need to get through the games because we're going to have a lot of talk about the NAIA Championship Series, and I'm the one sitting here rambling on about things. A game in Fort Worth, Texas, at the site of this year's NAIA National Championship. Texas Wesleyan and Ottawa go to battle essentially for what is the Sooner Athletic Conference Championship game. Now, granted, Ottawa has to win one more week, but this was the one that a lot of people had their eyes on all season long to kind of determine who's going to be the best team in the Sooner Athletic Conference. And early on, it looked like it was going to be Texas Wesleyan. Texas Wesleyan led in this game 35-21, and then Ottawa gets a score. Ottawa gets a pick. Ottawa gets, a couple big returns, couple big plays. I think anytime a team can get a pick six for a touchdown and then also get a big over-the-top kind of scoring strike, it really changes the momentum. And that's what happened to get this from 35-21 to 35-35 to 42-35 and to see Ottawa pull away in this game, Pat. I mean, we've seen it kind of all year with Ottawa. Like they've beat teams, they've put up points. They haven't absolutely dominated everybody this year, but they've been the better team on the field when they decided to be the better team on the field. I think that was kind of what happened yesterday. Guerin throws for 299 yards, gets 4 touchdowns, only throws 1 pick. It was a well-played game by Ottawa to take a couple punches, but then respond and come back from it.
Yeah, have some weapons, certainly. I tell you what, it seems like, hosting a playoff round, that's a pretty good place to host a playoff round. Nice weather in, late November. So, automatic qualifier. Seems like that's almost a done deal. And they play, is it Louisiana Christian?
Louisiana Christian, yep.
Yeah. So that's a big matchup still. I mean, is it now technically the conference championship?
Technically the conference championship, yeah.
Right.
Because what would end up happening with Louisiana Christian only having 1 loss and Ottawa having none, if Ottawa loses to Louisiana Christian, then Louisiana Christian has the head-to-head taken care of there. But it's then a 3-way tie if Texas Wesleyan beats Wayland Baptist, because Texas Wesleyan, Ottawa, and Louisiana Christian would all have 1 loss in the conference. So then where do you go to? They have like this whole point differential thing. It's mind-boggling.
Chaos ensues.
Yes, and that is what we love about the last week of the regular season. But at the end of the day, the other thing that this game did too is it determined there's really only going to be one team from the Sooner Athletic Conference make it. Because if Ottawa loses to Louisiana Christian next week, I'm not sure they make it as an at-large, even with 1 loss. The resume really wouldn't be there. I mean, you had a 7-point victory over Texas Wesleyan, who's borderline on the top 25 now, and then lost at home to Louisiana Christian. Now we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're making a lot of ifs, ands, buts, candies, nuts, all that sort of thing. I think Ottawa is going to win next week. They're going to secure themselves. And if they end up playing in the first round, they'll host a game. If they end up getting a bye the first week, then they're probably going to end up going on the road Thanksgiving weekend. So, but Ottawa setting themselves up nicely here, Pat. The primetime performance of the game, Luke Guerin, 299 yards passing, 61 yards rushing. I think he had a 52-yard touchdown run in this game. Threw for 4 touchdowns, ran for 1 touchdown. Looked really good in this game. Did a good job finding open receivers when need be. And he's a tough kid too. took off running a couple times, took some licks, got right back up. So Luke Gearin, our Walgreens primetime performance of the game. All right. You're talking about being a mush again, Pat.
Oh, man. I was singing McPherson. I was singing the praises, Jason, and I've literally done it like 4 consecutive weeks. The team I was really pumping the tires of in the previous week's show has literally laid an egg. It's unbelievable. Like it's
every week
happening every week.
You stop saying good things about teams, Pat.
I have to stop. And
only
I was so
say bad things that get you on highlight videos.
I mean, Jason, like Jaleel Brown was incredible last week. Like one of the most dynamic players I've seen this year. I mean, what did he rush for? 260 or something crazy. Last week.
3 something, wasn't it? It was like 45 carries for 360. No, I don't know. It was a lot. It was a big game.
It was a lot. And it was, they were dynamic. And, in Kansas, Wesleyan's had their moments this season. Obviously, they're going to finish the season with a winning record. Really a great record for a first-year coach and, fantastic, right? At the same time, on paper, at least going into this game, it's a McPherson game to win without question.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. So, this is disappointing to me because I do think McPherson, just watching them throughout the season, and I thought they battled Friends probably as good as anybody for the most part, and certainly the first half of that game. And you see what they did in other games this season, you're very impressed. I mean, they have good defensive structure and they tackle well and, dynamic on offense. Again, I love Jaleel Brown. And just you do this. It's like, man, what's going to happen here now in the KCAC? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the way it stands is for sure both conference champions will make it in. But then the at-large, you have this whole scenario, well, McPherson's got 2 losses, 1 to Friends, 1 to Kansas Wesleyan. Kansas Wesleyan has 3 losses. They lost to Friends. They lost to Evangel, and now it's escaped. Did they lose to Southwestern? Lost to Southwestern?
Sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, and then Southwestern has 3 losses, lost to Friends, lost to McPherson, and lost to Evangel. So you've got this whole like mix of this team beat this team, beat this team. Like there wasn't just like this one-off errant. Like, so I take Campbellsville, for example. Like Campbellsville has a loss this year, but it's to Cumberland, who's kind of this other team that's out of the mix now. It's not to the top 4 teams in the conference. With this, everybody's beating everybody for that second spot. So you've got MAC, you've got Kansas Wesleyan, and you've got Southwestern, kind of all with an argument that they could make the NAIA Championship Series. Now, in this game, I want to talk a little bit about Kansas Wesleyan because I honestly haven't watched a lot of Kansas Wesleyan football this year, but I did watch this game. And they were impressive in their – I'm trying to think the right way to put this. They were impressive in the ways that they were not impressive. They ground the ball out. They held McPherson down. They got a couple turnovers, and then they had a 12-play, 93-yard drive in the fourth quarter for the win, and just methodically went down the field, ground things out, and a little bit of a gutsy play call. Running back screen to the middle of the field to Domina for him to get into the end zone for the final score of the game. They did leave 55 seconds on the clock, and it looked like McPherson was going to get a real shot to go down the field and potentially win this game. And they actually had a completion, but it was negated by a hold, and they had to go back. And then Markarian's final pass, kind of his arm gets tipped or he gets hit, and it goes, just doesn't happen. But it was a heck of a ball game played in Salina, Kansas yesterday, I thought, Pat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are 2 good teams. I mean, Kansas Wesleyan's have had their moments, and you've seen it throughout the year. This is a team on the rise. You're seeing positive things happen. And again, I still think the world of McPherson. I think they're a good football team. It's just one of those things. And you got to tip your cap to Kansas Wesleyan after really getting thumped pretty good by Friends last week. Let's be honest. I mean, I watched the first half of that game, Jason, and it really wasn't close by the second quarter. And that's tough to respond from that. And again, everyone's gotten beaten by Friends like that this year for the most part.
Yeah.
And they responded, Kansas Wesleyan, and came out and put forth a great effort and won against a very, very good McPherson team, and just made this whole at-large thing in the conference just crazy. So this is going to be interesting this final week to see how things shake out a week from today.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just a lot of questions, and we'll answer them more down the road. Did Heaven Domina, running back, Kansas Wesleyan, our primetime performance from Panera Bread in this game, 147 yards rushing, 32 receiving yards, and had that 11-yard touchdown with 57 seconds left to win the ball game for the Yotes. and keep their postseason hopes alive. We go to the Frontier Conference, Pat. Holy cow. This was, I'm not surprised that College of Idaho won this game. Going in, felt like could be toss up. You've got Carroll at home, so Carroll gets a little advantage at home, but could be a close game. I kind of felt like College of Idaho dominated this game. I mean, outside of, the first quarter where we kind of had, some turnovers back and forth and some special team stuff happening. When we got, into the second quarter of this one, Pat, College of Idaho got physical in a way running the football that I really haven't seen them do the last couple years in the games that I've watched. And they looked really good.
I think they're getting back to where they were a couple of years ago, Jason, to be honest with you, because I think they're incredibly physical on both lines of scrimmage. I think they're very good in the second level on defense. I think defensively, I'm going to talk about their defense here first, Jason, collectively. They are dominant. I mean, they have gotten so much better from game one to where they are right now. Jason, like we talk about, we've said this phrase, 1,000 times already this season about the Yotes. Slow build, they are peaking right now. They are an exceptional team right now, I will tell you. I'd love to see them in Montana Tech again, because that was the best game Montana Tech has had this season. The best effort someone's put forth against them this year, and that was a pretty darn good game. And I think College of Idaho is better now, 5 weeks, 6 weeks later now, than they were then, and they were competitive against the Orediggers. I'm a fan of this team, and it starts defensively. Jason, they were just absolutely stifling. They were fantastic. Up front in the second level, bottling up the run. They run exceptionally well. Again, they're physical. There was really nothing there. Jason, there's only one offensive touchdown for the Saints in this game. The first score was a punt return for a touchdown, if you remember. A kid named Sullivan took it back, heck of a return. And that's pretty much it for the Fighting Saints in Nelson Stadium in Helena. That is an impressive win. I would put that up there, Jason, with one of the best wins I've seen thus far this season. Again, it's obviously late in the year here, but that is one of the most impressive wins I've seen on the road this year. To win it like that in this dominating fashion, I mean, look at the total offense and what the College of Idaho defense did to Carroll. And I think Carroll is a good football team, Jason. And I hope they can get in as that large. I'm not sure now. I think the way this game ended is not a great look, but I think, but it needs to be evaluated. I think College of Idaho is that type of maybe a top 12, top 10 team. I think they're ranked 15th because they lost to Montana Tech. Well, Montana Tech's pretty darn good. We've all figured that out. And I think College of Idaho is up in that tier, pretty darn good, man. And I think they're well coached. And offensively, like you said, both lines of scrimmage. The run game, it starts there for them certainly, and they are very methodical in how they approach things in the run game. And of course, the complementary play action game, bootlegs. That complement that running game. Love their approach, and they do a fantastic job. Love the way they do things. And this is a good football team. And they have gotten better every single week and peaking here at the right time going into week 10. Just fantastic.
The thing that really got me in this game, and really has got me all season with Carroll College, is I felt like coming into the season, I mean, they had tight end Carson Ochoa as a guy coming back. But I felt like they had a running back coming back off injury. They had some other guys with experience, that this was going to be a team that was going to grind out some rushing yards. They weren't going to run for 300 yards a game, but it was going to complement what Hewitt was going to do throwing the ball. Carroll College was held to -7 yards rushing in this game. That is mind-boggling to me, because I guess I know it's not like Carroll's got a bunch of slappies back there they're handing the ball off to that aren't able to run it. I think it's more of an indication of how good this College of Idaho defense has gotten this year and how well they defend the run and just how much better they are from week one to now. I mean, if you're a coach, you kind of take what Coach Mike Morosky has done at College of Idaho this year and say, this is the plan. If you're a coach, you start here, and every week you're just a little better, and then you're peaking as you go into the postseason. And I think that's what we're seeing with College of Idaho. And it reminds me of a couple of years ago when we saw College of Idaho starting to play really good football going into the postseason. They went to Grandview and got a win, and then almost went on the road to Kaiser and knocked off Kaiser to get into the national championship game. So they're peaking at the right time. They've got all the tools there. They've got a great defense. They've got a dual threat quarterback. They've got a really good group of wide receivers. And Riley Byington has really stepped up to be that workhorse bruising back for the Yotes. 198 yards in this game, 2 touchdowns. I mean, it was a great performance, just physical run style. And the other thing is, too, behind Byington, there's 2 or 3 guys that get a couple carries a game that are a very nice complement to the style of running he is. So, again, here we are, just take that air and let's pump the tires here of College of Idaho. But I think the Yotes are in a really nice position heading into the postseason. I think Carroll College, this loss does hurt them, but what helps them is there are so many other teams with 3 losses right now that I don't think will get considered for the playoffs above Carroll College, who has lost to the conference champion of the Frontier East and the conference champion of the Frontier West. It's not like they lost to the second best team in this conference, the third best team. They lost to a conference champion and a conference champion. Then that's where the line gets drawn after that. So with that being said, I think the Saints are in as an at-large as long as they take care of business the final week of the season. So any final thoughts on this one, Pat?
No, that's a great point, and I couldn't agree more. I think Carroll College is the 3rd best team in this league, both sides, East and West. I completely agree with that. I think they're better than Montana Western. They beat them head to head. I think that is a great point. I think you're spot on with that, and that's a great sales pitch for them to make it the at-large. I think they really should. One more thing, Jason, and I love Caden Hewitt, but how many times is it 3rd and extra, 3rd and long all the time? And that's a testament to the Coyote defense, because I tell you what, man, it just seemed like 1st and 2nd down, and Carroll's trying to run the football, Jason. They're trying to have plus plays and 1st and 2nd down, and they just got behind the sticks so much. Long yard situations. That's just a testament to that defense. They were just fantastic. And that was just a physical, playoff type style win where it's it's conservative, yes, it's play with strong defense and a good physical approach with run game centric offense. And just a brilliant game plan and execution by Coach Morosky's team. It's a brilliant win. It was fantastic.
And there's a couple throws I'm sure Caden Hewitt would like to get back, but a couple of his interceptions, I can't remember all 3, but I want to say 2 of them, it was like to a guy out of his hands, tip ball, College of Idaho picks it off. So in other games would have fell to the ground. Your guy would have caught it. It was one of those things where all the luck was stacking up against the Saints and all the bounces started to go to College of Idaho. So with that said, we move on. We get to our primetime player of the game, brought to you by Hope Credit Union. Riley Byington, running back, College of Idaho, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. The other thing I noticed, Pat, too, this guy kind of brings the juice. He gets running, he gets cranked up. And that was the other thing you started to see in the 2nd and 3rd quarter yesterday, that College of Idaho sideline, man, they were going. They were juiced up. I love to see it in NAIA football. We go to the Sun Conference in a game that was held pretty tight and pretty hotly contested until late in the game between Southeastern and Kaiser. Kaiser pulls away, gets the 34-23 victory. And, like we say so many times with Grandview, Kaiser did Kaiser things in this game. Like, they were right there. They trailed a little bit. They came back. Here's a field goal. Here's a field goal. Let's get this pick. Let's take this turnover. Let's score with it. Let's grind the ball. Let's run the ball with our big running backs here. Let's have Shea Spencer play a super efficient game. And then you look at it and it's like, they ended up winning by 11 points in this game. And even with that, Southeastern had a late score in this game. So really, I think it was 34-17 late in this one. But Kaiser, I thought, was impressive. I think Southeastern showed enough in this game too, Pat, to kind of keep in that contention for the at-large. But you tell me.
I totally agree. I think they absolutely are deserving of the at-large. This team needs to be in the playoffs. I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, it's a 17-17 game, Jason, going in the 3rd. I think even the middle of the 3rd, there's only a field goal for Kaiser. I'm just doing the math here, looking at the the breakdown of the quarters. And like you said, Kaiser does Kaiser things, starting the 4th quarter, put together a drive. Jaden Miller, Jason's a problem for people. Holy moly. That guy is dynamic. Wow. He's gotten faster. I'm trying to think, is Jaden only a sophomore, Jason? Is that right?
Who I
Is he
think
a
he's.
redshirt sophomore?
I
Maybe
think he might be a
sophomore?
redshirt sophomore. I'll pull it
Jason,
up
he's
here.
gotten faster. He's bigger, stronger, and faster than a year ago. And again, we've watched him throughout the year. But I tell you what, they've done a good job. The Seahawks have done a good job of kind of limiting his carries. I think they're kind of getting that ramp up for the postseason, late season. And they
Sophomore.
turned it. Yeah, he's a sophomore. He's a true sophomore. He's a dude, man. There's a screen that got called back in this game that he probably.
Yep.
I think he banged his head off the goalpost for about 65, and that might be one of the prettiest plays I've seen him just take off. And he hit a gear. You're like, and left fast Southeastern guys in the dust. I mean, that dude can run. And it's pretty. Like, he can go.
And that's one thing Miles Russ has done, and the Kaiser football program has done with their running game. They've always got the guy, but then there's always another guy to go with the guy to kind of limit, the beatings that the guy takes as much as you can.
No doubt. But he's a dude. I love Shea Spencer like that's ever changed. He's fantastic. They're great up front. And the playmakers they have on defense, I mean, the pick six and then the return on the pick six look like Ed Reed in his prime. I mean, knifing through people, making moves as a ball carrier. Who was that player, Jason? I'm putting you on the spot here. I know. I'm trying to remember.
Malik Raz.
What a play. I mean, just it looked like literally like Ed Reed just cutting through people, making moves, return to the house. Unbelievable play, an individual play on a return off of interception. Just unbelievable. I mean, Jason, this team's really, really good, man. I mean, if they're not the best team in the country, I don't know who is. I mean, right now, they're pretty darn good. I mean, they really are.
Some idiot earlier this season on a podcast was saying like how Kaiser was going to slip this year. That guy's a moron. And how anybody listens to him week after week, it's just beyond me. Somebody that would make that bold of a prediction and be that wrong, Pat. I mean,
they're good, man.
That was
they're
me.
Really good. Now, with that being said, you got to give Southeastern their flowers too, because they're competitive in this game. And the thing is, man, like they can run with them. They can run with Kaiser. They're that athletic. I mean, Nate Michael's an athlete, man, and he's running, making plays all day. He can do. You
got to consider this was a 20-17 game up to the 3:44 minute of the fourth quarter. So 3:44 left is when Kaiser scored to go up 17-27. And then on the ensuing drive, the turnover happened for a pick six to make it 34-17. So up until the final 4 minutes of this game, it was a 3-point ball game. And Kaiser had to kick field goals to tie it and then to eventually take the lead. So, Kaiser's good. We know they're good, but Southeastern with 2 losses, man, you just kind of want to, like, Florida Memorial. What were you doing that week?
I know.
You should be 8-1 right now.
Absolutely.
If they win that game, they're sitting 8-1 right now. They might be sitting top 8 in the country in terms of seeding, but that loss kills them. And then, I'm all thinking we might have the scenario for a 3-way tie in the conference between Southeastern and Kaiser and Florida Memorial because they all have 1 loss. Florida Memorial loses to Ave Maria yesterday.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah.
Yeah. So
unbelievable.
So it's Kaiser and Southeastern 1 and 2. And you've got St. Thomas picks up a victory. They're still in the mix, I think, with 3 losses to be a potential it's there. I'll break it down here later. We're getting too far ahead of ourselves here, but
gotta get to it. Great job, Southeastern. They need to be in, Jason.
Southeast. Yeah,
they need to be
shadow of a doubt. Kaiser automatic, Southeastern at large, as long as everybody wins this week. Jade Miller, Dylan Simon, running backs for Kaiser University, putting them both in for the primetime performance. Those guys grinding it out. 36 carries, 187 yards, and a touchdown. You can even hear my corgi is excited about it right now, barking upstairs. Hey, that gets us through. That gets us through all of those games. So we'll quickly go through the top 25. Grandview over Culver Stockton, 62-7. Kind of as expected. We talked about Benedictine, their win over Baker, kind of puts them in the driver's seat for their conference. Friends gets a big victory. Montana Tech gets a big victory. Dort beats Concordia. We thought that game would be closer. At least I thought that game would be closer than what it was. Dort setting themselves up nicely for a big game this week at Morningside. Marion gets the win. We talked about Carroll College of Idaho. Lindsey Wilson over Cumberland, and then Morningside beats Mount Marty. Kind of thought Mount Marty would come back a little stronger here later in the season, but just has not been their year. They got that big win over Northwestern early, and then that was it. Campbellsville gets the win. Ottawa gets the win. Indiana Wesleyan gets the win. Southeastern loses to Kaiser. College of Idaho gets the win. the rest of the top 25. So St. Thomas now sitting at 6-3. Now, the top 25 coaches poll does not matter, does not mean a hill of beans, doesn't mean anything towards the postseason. But you got to think that the selection committee knows that's the 16th rated team in the country at 6-3, potentially for an at-large. William Penn gets a victory. They're 9-1. They're as good as gold making the postseason as long as they beat St. Ambrose. You got the MAC loss there. You got Montana Western beating Arizona Christian to improve to 7-3, trying to keep that at-large hope alive. Northwestern gets the win over Doane. Georgetown gets the last-minute victory there over Cumberland. St. Francis with the win. Evangel with the win. Texas Wesleyan with the loss, in Southwestern beating St. Mary. So I go through all of that quickly because this is what matters right here, right now. The standings in all the conferences, Pat. The conference champion, the winner of the conference, gets the automatic. And we've always said, if you want to make the NAIA postseason, win your conference. That is your easiest route because, as you'll see when we get into the explanation of all the at-larges, like I said, it's all these different webs that have been weaved. And how's it going to happen? And well, this team beat this team and this team, just win your conference. It's that easy. And that's what we have in the Appalachian Athletic Conference this week. Reinhardt and Pikeville play one another. The winner makes the postseason. Montana Tech, they're in. They've won their conference. College of Idaho is in. They've won their conference. Dordt and Morningside, in my opinion, like Morningside should be sitting undefeated here right now, but they kind of had that slip up earlier this season. Northwestern for that loss. But the winner of the game this week between Dordt and Morningside is in automatically. The loser will have or if Morningside loses, they'll have 2 losses. Dordt will have 1. You're still looking at 2 teams making it into the postseason. Actually, Morningside's they're 8-1 in the conference. They're 8-2 overall. So, any thoughts on this groupings, Pat? Anything to add for conference standings or anything that I'm missing?
Pretty cut and dry. I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, Reinhardt would make things a heck of a lot simpler for everyone. And I think they are the best team in that Appalachian conference. Win and you're in. Make it simple. But it can't be simple, right, Jason? There's too much going on. Everything has been crazy. It's crazy at all levels of football. If you look around the country at all levels, it's nuts. Look, the NFL's freaking nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's just crazy. So, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. I think that the teams here are deserving. Obviously, Dordt Morningside is a huge matchup this weekend. It's there's a lot going on here, certainly.
A big thanks to Reinhardt and Pikeville getting this to just where it'd be whoever wins this game gets in, rather than the 3-way tie and the winner being decided by a sack race on Sunday. I mean, I don't know. Like all these tiebreakers, and I'm being facetious. I don't know what the AAC tiebreaker is off the top of my head, but some of them you start reading them and you get to like the 7th option and it's literally like the teams will meet for like potato sack races on Sunday at noon to determine the winner of the conference tie. It's like, what are we doing? All right, next group of 4 conference here. Hart North, Grandview, they're in. William Penn, going to make it as an at-large as long as they beat St. Ambrose. If they lose to St. Ambrose, they're on the bubble then. But then there's going to be there's a lot of bubble teams then. Benedictine needs to beat Mid-American Nazarene to secure the Hart South. Otherwise, we go into a 3-way tie. In that 3-way tie, the scenario, I believe as it would work out, would be that Benedictine would be the conference champion, but it leads some things to interpretation. Just have Benedictine win that. Friends, they have qualified. They've won their conference. They're in. Nobody's going to take that away from them. Same with Evangel. They are also in. But yeah, you've got Kansas Wesleyan, McPherson sitting right behind them, along with Southwestern sitting there too. We'll get into that momentarily. This group of 4, you got Campbellsville and Lindsey Wilson sitting up top in the Mid-South. Campbellsville has the tiebreaker with the head-to-head victory. Lindsey Wilson sitting pretty good right now. They just have to win their final game against Bethel, right? That's who they play. I've got that on a slide here later.
Yes.
Everything's running together for me. And Campbellsville has to beat Georgetown. But if Campbellsville and Lindsey Wilson were to lose, you would have a 4-way tie for the Mid-South Conference title, everybody at 4-2. The way that I interpret the tiebreaker for the Mid-South Conference is they go head-to-head, and they see who has the best record head-to-head amongst those teams. So with everybody having 2 losses, I believe it would be Campbellsville that would still be the conference champion, because Campbellsville's loss is to not, well, they would have one loss if they lost to Georgetown, but their other loss is to a team that is not in this grouping. So they would technically then be 4-1 or 3-1, whatever it would be, against this group of 4, and everybody else would be 2-2. Yeah. I spent a lot of time this weekend, Pat, reading bylaws and manuals from conferences, getting screenshot text messages sent to me by coaches of manuals I couldn't find online. So,
are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, you're going above and beyond. Look at you.
Unfortunately or fortunately, there's a lot of people that watch this show. And I had parents messaging me today saying, I know that this is a off question, but what are the chances like we would have a bye week or we wouldn't play on Thanksgiving? And I was like, well, with your team, you're going to be playing on Thanksgiving because you're going to have a first round bye. And that weekend, you're definitely playing. So, I mean, I had, I'm like, I'm like the international talk about NAIA football guy, and everybody just seems to think I know the answer. And when I don't, my brain works in such a way. It's like, well, I got to find it out. I can't just say I don't know. If I say I don't know, I'm not the expert, Pat. I'm not the guru anymore.
You know what's funny? Just because I'm on the show with you, people think like by osmosis I'm the same way. So people like text me all day today too. I've had multiple texts. So what happens if so-and-so beats so-and-so, but we have 3 losses? Do we still get in? I go, no.
Like,
I don't know if it's true or not. I have no idea.
Yeah.
No.
Well, Pat was wrong. It's like, well, why are you asking a guy that has a podcast with a blogger? Like, I don't know. All right.
I mean, I know the eye test. I've watched the tape.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want you in, but that's me.
So you want to ask some questions about who Pat thinks has got the best offensive line or defensive line in the country that he has seen? Like, he'll run through that.
I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful talking good about anyone though. Until right now, I'll absolutely mush them. They're gonna lose to a 2-8 team next week.
Exactly. Don't want that to happen. So the Mid-States Football Association does have the possibility of 2 3-way ties at their conference for their conference. So if Marion were to lose to St. Xavier, and Indiana Wesleyan were to lose to Siena Heights, it'd be a 3-way tie on both sides.
Yeah.
And then that it would be the tiebreaker. There is the coach's vote to determine who ends up as the conference champion. Essentially, like a top 3 vote is what it comes back to, and whoever is ahead in that. And then I think if there's still a tie, then it goes to who first place votes, and then there's a whole scenario. I've got it on a screenshotted text message on my cell phone here that I could read through. I don't think I think Indiana Wesleyan's going to win. I think Marion's going to win. But I do got to compliment St. Xavier. Like, they're a team that I kind of lost track of this year. And then all of a sudden you're sitting here going, holy cow, they're 7-3. If they win, they're 8-3. That's like a postseason record. Like, that's like, yeah, you see an 8-3 team in the postseason. Okay. Like, I don't like the fact they got 3 losses, but that seems like they should be there. It's been a heck of a job by, Femness and crew to keep the ship righted and keep things going the right direction.
I think it's an interesting game. I'll be honest with you. I think it's an incredibly interesting game. Marion St. X.
I want to bring this up. Eric Watson, MSFA bylaws read, in a case of a 3-way tie, the league championship, the best ranked team in the final NAIA poll determines representative. That is incorrect. If you go and you look at that bylaw, you'll see that that's from 2022. And if you paid attention to the Victory Sports Network this week and you watched the interview I had with Dr. Jesse Gotting on the NAIA Championship Series, one thing that happened this year with the NAIA Performance Index becoming primary criteria and the top 25 not being in there, all of the conferences had to go back through their tiebreaker scenarios, and they had to remove any tiebreaker scenario where they used the NAIA coaches top 25 poll to determine who wins that conference. Now, they could have easily put in something like the highest number of points in the NAIA Performance Index as one, but this is one that the online version for what the online version for what was on the Mid-States Football Association website was incorrect. in the correct version reads as such. I'm going to do this now. NAIA playoff representation. Each league champion is represented in the playoffs. In the case of a two-way tie in the league championship, head-to-head competition decides the playoff representative. In the case of a three-way tie for a league championship, a league-wide coaches vote will occur, ranking tied teams in order of 1, 2, and 3. If first place votes are tied, total rank order will be the next tally. In the event of an additional tie, the point spread will be calculated in head-to-head games among the 3 tied teams. If the need for an additional tiebreaker occurs, the highest rated team in the NAIA ARC rating will determine the NAIA automatic playoff qualifier. My God, I've gone cross-eyed.
What happened? Where am I?
Yeah,
What
but
are we doing?
but Eric, you are not incorrect, because I did the same thing, and then this morning I started going, no, I'm going to text a coach, because he's going to know. I know that the coach that I'm going to text is going to know the answer to this, and sure enough, screenshot, here it is. So that's what's happening in the Mid-States. The Sooner Athletic Conference, Ottawa needs to win this week. They are the outright champion then. If they lose, we have a 3-way tie, and somewhere in my email from Jim Powers of the Sooner Athletic Conference last year, I've got like the 3-way tie, and I believe they use like a point differential, like total victory points, like scenario in theirs. That was the last one I saw.
Are you sure it's not a 6-shooter duel?
Yeah.
I was thinking Sooner.
We meet at the OK Corral at noon.
Yeah.
And we draw pistols. And the person that is left alive, their team gets to play, because obviously the other team's coaches would be dead.
Right.
No.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
So, yeah, that's what's going on in the Sooner. Ottawa in the driver's seat there. Kaiser winning the conference. And then, as you see there, Southeastern St. Thomas and Florida Memorial all sitting at 4-2. So let's break it down. Let's show you how I see things sitting right now. 13 conference champions, 7 at-large bids. That's what makes the postseason. Here's what I'm predicting for your automatic qualifiers, with a couple caveats here. All right, we're going to say Reinhardt wins the Appalachian. If Reinhardt doesn't win it, that's going to be Pikeville. So that's going to be one there anyway. Montana Tech is in. College of Idaho is in. Grandview is in. We're going to assume Benedictine will take care of business against Mid-American Nazarene, and that they will be the Heart South representative. And also, if there's a tiebreaker scenario, I think they end up being the rep anyway, but don't quote me on that. I'm just a blogger with the podcast. I'm saying Dort wins the GPAC. I think Morningside can win that game. And if Morningside wins that game, Morningside will have their name on here. But I think regardless of that, Dort and Morningside both make the NAIA Championship Series. Mm-hmm. Friends is in, Evangel is in. Nothing to talk about there. We're going to call Marion the champion, the Mid-States Midwest. We're going to say Indiana Wesleyan wins the Mid-East. We're going to say that all hell doesn't break loose in the Mid-South Conference, and that Campbellsville just wins against Georgetown, and that settles it. Then they're in as the champion. Otherwise, well, they're probably still in, but then the other teams have. But then Lindsey Wilson, if Lindsey Wilson wins, and then Campbellsville loses, and Lindsey Wilson wins, and Lindsey Wilson is the automat. Exactly. Ottawa, they're in if they win. And I believe they've got the tiebreaker as well, but don't quote me on that. And then Kaiser is in. So the asterisks on this screen right now are the ones that are clinched. Now we get into the at-larges. My confidence level in these at-larges is definitely not as high as what it's been in previous years, Pat. And a lot of that is due to the fact that the NAI is not using the top 25 poll anymore. You could kind of predict if this team wins, they'll drop to here. So then this team will be up here. So they're not using the top 25 poll at all for anything in the postseason. So everybody that's in the chat right now, when your parents, if you're a player and your parents are like, but we're higher than them in the top 25, you got to go, it doesn't matter, Dad. What matters is the NAI performance index, the Massey rating, the ARC rating, your overall win percentage. These are the things that they look at first as the primary criteria, and they do not even look at the top 25 poll. So my confidence level is not as good because there's math in the performance index that is 7 layers removed that can change a team's point total. So take, for instance, right now, Olivet Nazarene is 5-4. If Olivet Nazarene wins, they're 6-4. They have a higher win percentage. So anybody that's beat them gets like one more point. But if Olivet Nazarene at 5-4 right now loses this week and they go 5-5 and now they're a 500 team, now you're getting a point less when you beat that team. When this week you're getting a point more, so your point level could go down because theirs went down. So there's this whole scenario, and that's just like one of 5 things. That's not like the final determining factor. In the interview with Dr. Jesse Gotting, he talked about like there are 5 things that we look at for primary criteria, 5 more things for secondary criteria. This is a long way of me saying like the system is not as cut and dried as what it was before. So my confidence level in the at-larges is not great, but I am confident in Lindsey Wilson being an at-large or Campbellsville, whoever ends up being the in there. Same with Morningside. I'm confident there as well. I'm probably more confident in William Penn as an at-large over Carroll, just because they're going to have 1 loss. If they beat St. Ambrose, they're going to have 1 loss. If they lose, they're going to have 2, and then they're kind of on the bubble. Then we get into like, okay, Southeastern's probably in with 2 losses, and the fact they played Kaiser so tough, I think they're in. And I think St. Francis is in with their losses. I mean, if you remove the scenario and you say, well, their only losses are to conference champions, and people think you're talking about Carroll College, you're also talking about St. Francis in Indiana as well. Their losses were to only teams that are conference champions. So that's where I think St. Francis gets in, because they've only lost to conference champions of 2 conferences. 7 spot right now, if you made me determine it this week, like I wouldn't feel good about it, Pat, because you look at those teams that are on the bubble and it's like you could make an argument for about any one of them this week going into the final week, but we need that final game to kind of determine, because that could knock out Georgetown. Georgetown loses, they're out. Northwestern is in the discussion, but I think their losses ultimately catch up with them here, and who those losses are to. They have a quality win over Morningside, but lost to Dort, lost to Mount Marty, and lost to, who am I missing here? Hastings. So with those losses right there, like those aren't great losses to Mount Marty and Hastings. Kansas Wesleyan, like they just beat McPherson. Are they in the talk pad? Montana Western's only got 3 losses this year, and it's to 3 teams that are probably going to make the postseason in Carroll College, Montana Tech, and College of Idaho. That's their 3 losses. Are they in? But then, hey, let's argue Dakota State. Dakota State loses week 0 to Dakota Wesleyan. Terrible loss. Guess what? Here's what people don't talk about. Going into that game, Dakota State loses their defensive coordinator and special teams coordinator, same guy, I believe, had to resign kind of due to some health reasons. And their starting quarterback was not back yet off injury. This Trey Heddick that's played all season for him and played amazing, did not play that week either. So that's a week 0 game. And we talk about teams progressively getting better. Dakota State has done that. They just beat Rocky Mountain 38-7 this week. So as only a 2-loss team, and their other loss being to Montana Tech, how are they not getting more love? I don't know, Pat. I've been babbling for 5 minutes, and you've been patiently waiting for me to shut up. I'll let you speak now. This is how podcasts go. I talk. Okay, you talk.
I'll be honest with you. Like I wouldn't change a thing that you have. I mean, not to be like that guy and horrible podcasting here. I totally agree. Every single scenario, every point that you have, the left side of this screen right here is spot on, in my opinion.
If everything goes away, I think it will. Yes, I think so.
Absolutely. And then, like you said, interchangeable. Obviously, Morningside beats Dort, then they're interchangeable. No question. I think Carroll is a no question at large, in my opinion. Just passing the eye test, watching their volume of work this year, and watching this team play. I mean, they're fantastic. I think they're a playoff team. I think William Penn is deserving. And I'm telling you right now, Jason, I am concerned about that game, meaning the St. Ambrose game. St. Ambrose has played some good football this year. They've had moments of playing some really, really good football. They're getting back into it, meaning that, I'm not saying they're a playoff team yet, but they're certainly not the 0-10 team we've seen the last couple of years. The Fighting Bees are coming back, and that's not an easy game for William Penn. And I think Southeastern, what they did last night, and put forth a great, great challenge of a great football team of Kaiser. They are incredibly deserving. I hate the Florida Memorial loss like everybody else does, but I think they are very, very deserving of an at-large, and are, again, watching them on film, watching the talent, watching the way they're coached, the way they are prepared. are deserving. And St. Francis, like you said, again, I hate the rivalry loss. I can't stand it. As a St. Francis Cougar, my degree is on the wall right there. I'm looking right at it. I hate it. It's a bad loss. At the same time, they're two conference champions that they've lost to, Campbellsville and Marion. They are deserving to be in, and they're playing really good football right now as we sit here today. And they're going to win next Saturday and should get in the postseason. So I can't disagree with any of these scenarios. And on that right side, Jason, I don't – with McPherson's loss yesterday, that's the one team I would have pushed for, and I can't do that now after losing to K-Dub yesterday. So I really can't lobby for any of those teams on the right side, in my opinion. And watching them and what their body of work and the resume is from this season, I'd have a hard time pushing and trying to sell the selection committee on any of those as an at-large. That's just my viewpoint.
I mean, and this is this is unpopular. I think just remove all the things that they lost to this team, they played this team, they didn't look good. Remove all that, and I just look at if those teams that were on the bubble played one another, who wins most of those games? I probably land on McPherson and Montana Western, and then St. Thomas. If I'm just thinking like, okay, St. Thomas and McPherson play, who wins? I think McPherson wins that game. I think McPherson beats Georgetown. I think McPherson beats Northwestern. McPherson obviously doesn't beat Kansas Wesleyan. We've proven that. But they beat Southwestern. McPherson, Montana Western, that's one of those. McPherson, Dakota State, I don't know. I don't know on that one. St. Thomas, like, all right, they already beat Georgetown. That was a win for them. So I think that helps St. Thomas out. And I think, again, if Georgetown loses this week, it takes them off the bubble. If they win, they're still on the bubble. I did get a question from a commenter here. Given the criteria you're discussing, how are Mid-American, Nazarene, and Baker not on the bubble list? So a couple things here. If you and when I broke down this bubble list, I also looked at the current NAIA Performance Index and the Massey rating and kind of did an average of where they fall there. Baker, with the losses that they have, they've got 4 losses now. Like, they're cooked at this point. Yeah. They needed to win the conference. Mid-American, Nazarene, they've got 3 losses. William Penn is one of those losses. Baker is another loss, who, mind you, Baker is now a 5-4 team, and they lost to Grandview. They had a great performance against Grandview. Do not get me wrong there. They played really well. But they've struggled at times in games this year. They were down to Clark early in the season, who's a 1-loss team. They beat one win team, pardon me. They beat William Woods 35-26. I mean, when I'm thinking of teams that like they deserve to be in the playoff, that doesn't really fit the resume I'm looking for. But I mean, if at a 7-3 record and they beat Benedictine, if they beat Benedictine this week, I think they get onto the bubble now. I mean, I guess I wasn't really. My mindset is Benedictine is going to win that game, so I'm not putting Mid-American Nazarene as a bubble team because they're going to have 4 losses. But if they win and now they're 8-3, well, now I think we're talking about them, Pat. But I still think there's probably a 2-loss McPherson team, a 2-loss Dakota State team that you start looking at. Then I just have this real feeling that the playoff committee, the championship selection committee, is going to kind of look at 3-loss teams and say, yep, they're really good, but they've got 3 losses. If those 3 losses are against NAIA schools. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't disagree with any of this, with what you have here. And I think to answer you made a really good point. If the teams on the right are in a tournament, who wins? I don't know. If I had to put a bet on, it's probably St. Thomas or McPherson. That's my vote. And probably in Montana Western. Those are probably my 3.
Well, but it comes back with Montana Western. Like, what team do you get?
What do you
like
get?
If you get Montana Western at their best this year, they win that tournament.
Yeah.
If you get Montana Western,
goes out, scores everybody. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you.
But that is why they're on the bubble, is because of the inconsistency that we've seen from them this year. Great team. Sure. Fantastic team. Again, if I had $1 billion and the NAIA did their championship series and I was going to do the Jason Dannelly Bowl Fest and we were going to play like 4 NAIA football games at the Fargo Dome that's down the road from me and I could walk there, I would be like, for one of the first teams I would call be Montana Western. Be like, I feel like they're a team that deserves to have another game this year. and they deserve to have that other game against. Hey, let's put them against St. Thomas. Okay, let's have McPherson play Dakotas. But I don't have $1 billion. I don't get enough donations. I don't get enough ad revenue. And my real job, like, hey, I got a family that takes all that money. So,
no, I could be great, like a Montana Western, like a bowl game type thing. You do a Montana Western, St. Thomas, then you do a K-Dub, and I don't know, who would you have? Georgetown, something like that. Even maybe. I don't know. Be kind of cool.
Yeah,
sure.
It would be awesome to do it. Work Law says sound. I'm pretty sure everybody can still hear us. If you can't hear us, tell us. But I can hear. Here's the thing: I can hear Pat, and Pat can hear me. So the sound is going out there somewhere. Maybe just not to you. Shut down and restart. That's what my IT tells me to do every time. How bad? Let's check this. What's this say? How bad does Mid-American Nazarene need to beat Benedictine to get into considering no top 5 or 10 teams have lost yet?
What does that mean?
How bad does Mid-American Nazarene need to beat Benedictine to get in?
85-0. I don't know.
I mean, it would have to be an impressive victory. Like, you would have to go to Mid-America. You would have to go and beat Benedictine 35-14, 42-20. Like, it's going to be an uphill battle. Hoyt can hear us, so people can still hear us. But can you hear Jimmy, man? Can you hear Jimmy? You can't hear Jimmy. Isn't that White Man Can't Jump?
I don't know, man.
I think it's White Men Can't Jump when Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson are arguing about music. Nothing like an early 90s movie reference to get the youth caring about this show.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, going back to it, my confidence level in those 6 isn't as high as maybe it would have been in the last couple of years. I felt like in the last couple of years, I could really get through at-large 5, be super confident, be pretty good on number 6, and number 7 is always the crapshoot. I mean, the last 3 weeks who the 7th team in has changed. Like, St. Francis basically moved up 1 this week, in my mind, in the at-large pool because of McPherson's loss, and now McPherson's on the bubble. I do think the KCAC has shown enough as a league this year that it would be a travesty. That's probably a strong word. But I don't feel like it would be representative of the best teams in the NAIA with as competitive and as good as the KCAC has been this year for them to only have 2 representatives in the playoffs between 2 leagues. I think a third from the KCAC, just based on how competitive that conference has been and how the KCAC showed in last year's championship series by winning their first round games. You had Friends get a victory last year. You had Southwestern get a victory last year. And you had Kansas Wesleyan go on the road and play very tough against Dickinson State. So I think the lack of a better word, prestige of the conference is on the up. And so we probably will see a third team in there.
Yeah, I would agree. Again, I'm really disappointed with McPherson. I just am, because I'm totally in agreement with you on that, because it has been such a deep league. It's been a really quality league all year. I mean, Friends is Friends at this point. I mean, Friends is now. I mean, we're talking about them like we're talking about Kaiser and Montana Tech, and I mean they're kicking the crap out of people all year.
You would not be surprised by the number of coaches I've gotten text messages from saying, I honestly would rather draw Kaiser or Grandview in the postseason than Friends.
Jason, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something real quick. And again, I'm an offensive guy. Thank God I've never had to prepare for an option team as a defensive coach. I would not enjoy it at all. It is almost impossible in 3 days to get ready for it. I'm going to tell you, especially the way that they run. Like, these teams in the league and the KCAC, you're preparing all year for. What's happening, right? I mean, it's not easy still, obviously, to replicate, but you still have literally a calendar year knowing it's going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. Try getting a draw on a Sunday and you have to get ready for it. And essentially, game plan, you got to get ready for it in essentially 48 hours. And then you have 3 full days to install, try to find somebody in your program to be Cavante Baker, excuse me, to replicate what he can do, which no one can. You got to find some athlete to be able to do it somehow and have all of the moving parts, the wings and all the motion and all of the timing components of it to get your defense ready. Good luck. It's not going to happen. I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah.
And you heard one of the best coaches, probably one of the best defensive coaches, maybe the history of the NAI last year, and Joe Woodley say that was a problem.
Yeah.
They won the national championship. So there you go.
Yeah.
They're a problem, Jason. I'm just going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
No question.
Did get what about LCU, Louisiana Christian? They got to win this week. They got to win to get in. I mean, they've really had a nice season this year too, but they lost Texas Wesleyan. We got a 3-way tie. The whole tiebreaker scenario with the Sooner, I still need to fully sort out. But end of the day, Louisiana Christian has to win to have any shot at the postseason. Let's see. What are your concerns with the William Penn St. Ambrose game? A little bit of a trap game. A little bit like William Penn, like one loss right now, feeling good about themselves. St. Ambrose isn't playing for the postseason. They can throw everything in the kitchen sink at William Penn to try to get this win, and really potentially spoil William Penn's one-loss season to get to the postseason.
Go back and look what Ambrose has done this year. They played some good football against some good teams. They're not a great team yet, but they are on the rise. And like Jason just said, William Penn is a good football team. We love William Penn. At the same time, you're 100% right, Jason. I mean, there's nothing to lose to the old Fighting Bees. And they can play spoiler in this trap game. No question about it. Totally agree.
Yeah. Another comment here. I have the same at large. Very good. Campbellsville stat guy here. Anxious for Georgetown. Lindsay is very, very good. Yeah, I think there's a lot of respect in the conference, in the Mid-South Conference, for just how good the rest of the squads are there. So pretty good all the way around. Let's see here. What's this one? Comment, Benedictine has one loss, ranked third. Their loss was to Grandview. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, Benedictine still those dudes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we just, since we're getting the comments, I like doing the interaction here. Joining late, we'll have to start back from the beginning. Big game for Morningside next week, obviously, with Dort. Well, hey, just as a reminder for anybody that maybe you're not in a scenario where you can watch this podcast in its entirety, after we're completed tonight, the audio will be downloaded and it will be uploaded to iTunes and Spotify, so you can put it on your phone and listen to it as a podcast when you drive to work tomorrow. There you go. What other questions did I miss? Trying to see if there's anything that we missed here. Yeah. Lindsey Wilson, 400 yards rushing yesterday. Wow. And one of the early questions was, does the GPAC get two teams in? Yeah, they do. So, if you got any other questions, fire to them. Let's see. St. Xavier beats Marion Saturday. Would they be considered in a seventh at large? They would not. I don't think. Well, maybe.
I don't know.
Because the tiebreaker would go to the vote. So, all right. I said this off air to you, Pat.
That's a nightmare.
The tiebreaker scenario, the Mid-States Football Association, is a coach's vote for the top three. Marion has one loss and is rated very high. If St. Xavier beats Marion probably still gets in as an at-large. So as coaches in the Mid-States Football Association, would you not vote for St. Xavier to be your champion? Because then they would get the automatic. Marion would have an at-large. St. Francis would also potentially have an at-large.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So
it's an interesting matchup, actually, Jason. There's a lot of history there. It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. It is interesting. That's not going to be an easy game for Marion. I will tell you that. Right
no, it won't be. And again, like the commenter, Tim here is correct in saying, they're 8-3 then. They I think same scenario as Mid-American Nazarene. Mm-hmm. If Mid-American Nazarene beats Benedictine, pardon me, and St. Xavier beats Marion, well, now you got 8-3 teams all of a sudden. So what's this one say? With Ottawa possibly winning the dinner, would they get first round game? Yeah, they probably, all comes down to seeding. Spots 13 through 20 will play. I think Ottawa will move up and probably be a higher seed and have a first round bye. So if you didn't know that, spots 1 through 12 in the NAIA Championship Series get a first round bye. 13 through 20 will play November 22nd. Everybody else plays their first game the weekend of Thanksgiving. So
Did that thing
Sooner.
win the dinner?
Win the Sooner. He corrected himself
Oh.
here. Sooner.
Oh.
Kind of like me, Freudian
Autocorrect.
slip, always thinking of food. There's always that.
That's good. That's a good point.
We do have more stuff to get through here. So here's
We
the
do.
big
We have a
games
lot to
this
do.
week. We're gonna roll through this quick because we're already over an hour here tonight.
Yeah.
Mid-American Nazarene at Benedictine. That's obviously a game of the week. Defenders and Morningside. Any thoughts here, Pat? We've kind of dissected this already.
Man, I mean, obviously Mid-American Nazarene, like you said, is there a scenario that they just come out and just throw everything in the kitchen sink at Benedictine, try to steal a win? Benedictine, I mean, yeah, they've got this thing pretty much locked up for the most part, but I just think Benedictine's too strong, Jason. I just don't see it happening. I just don't. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on it. I just don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening. I think Benedictine and Coach Osborne knows that run that team made last year. That team knows what happened last year. I think they're uber focused, and you're not going to see them slip up this week. Now, Dorton Morningside, that game's a little bit more of a coin flip to me.
No question.
I mean, it's at Morningside. Morningside has been a team this year that we've watched at times, Pat, and we just went, what the heck is going on? And other times we watched it and went, oh, okay, that's them. What team shows up this week? And then Dort on the other side, like Dort has had some scenarios this year where they got down to like Northwestern early, but then battled back, had the game-winning score there late in the game. Like this is probably one of the best games in the Great Plains Athletic Conference in a long time. Not just because it's for a conference title, but it's the last week of the year. We've had a lot of build up to it. I mean, I'm excited about it. This is a great one in the GPAC. This
reminds me of the old days. Remember when Morningside and Sioux Falls played always the last game of the year in the GPAC? Always did. It was always for the conference championship. Of course, Sioux Falls probably won 90% of those. But anyway, this reminds me of. This is a big deal. And for the conference championship, I think it's a coin flip. I totally agree with you. Definitely reminds me of those old days, Conference championship in week 10.
It's the cliche, whoever plays good defense and creates turnovers is going to win that game. Like, if you look at the box score on Sunday and you can't say, oh, look at that, a couple turnovers here, one went for a score, and that's what ended up winning this game. If it ends up being like a completely clean game, no turnovers whatsoever, I'll be shocked because both teams' defenses are very good and are going to force the other team into a scenario. All right, Mid-South Conference, we've talked about it a lot. Lindsey Wilson goes to Bethel. Campbellsville goes to Georgetown. So your two higher-rated teams are going on the road to have to get road victories. That's not easy. That's going to be tough. Like one of the Campbellsville folks said, a little nervous, a little anxious this week as they get ready for Georgetown. I think Campbellsville and Lindsey Wilson are the better two squads here and get the wins, but man, it's the last week of the season. Like Georgetown and Bethel ain't got nothing to lose by throwing something crazy out there.
No question. I mean, I think like you said, the two higher ranked teams have got to buckle up and play their best football. And I think Campbellsville definitely has learned their lessons since the Cumberland loss. Yeah. Cumberland, Tennessee.
Yeah, Cumberland, Tennessee.
Yes. There's always two in Cumberlands and Cumberland. Anyway, Campbellsville has learned a lesson. I think they're playing great football right now. And I think it's a great team. I think both of these teams, Lindsey Wilson and Campbellsville, are tremendous, both very, very deserving to be in the postseason and making deep runs, in my opinion. Let's see these two teams win and play well in this game and make things simple in the selection committee process for the Mid-South Conference, please.
Yes. Yeah.
They deserve it. Both these teams are deserving.
We got some user comments I'll get to. If you have more questions, drop them in there. We'll go back. We'll go through them here at the end. We want to get through these games here first. Louisiana Christian at Ottawa of Arizona. We've mentioned it many, many times in this. Louisiana Christian, if they win this game, they could force at least a two-way, if not three-way tie in the Sooner. So chaos there. Ottawa wins. They're the outright champion. Siena Heights could do the same if they can go to Indiana Wesleyan and get the victory. I'm not overly confident about the road teams in either of these games getting the win. I do think Indiana Wesleyan and Ottawa both win out, both secure their spot as league champions, and we don't see a crazy playoff scenario or crazy tiebreaker scenario. But I've been wrong before. Pat, I think you're with me on this.
I would tend to agree. The one thing I'm going to mention, though, potentially the last game in Siena Heights football history. Kind of a sad deal. Definitely feel for those guys. I've had great battles with them over the years. Definitely want to, wish them all the best. And, I can guarantee they're going to go out with, guns blazing, man. They're going to go out any way they possibly can, with fight. And this is not going to be easy for Indiana Wesleyan. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's going to be emotional for the Saints in their last game ever, potentially. And, if they would happen to win this game, Jason, holy moly. What a
Ooh,
mess.
baby.
What a mess. But
mess.
yeah, they've never made the playoffs, Jason, in their program's
Nope.
history. And this is definitely the last regular season game in program history. And they've never made the playoffs. So I'm just going to throw that scenario out to you.
It's going to be an interesting one, and hats off to the Saints coaching staff
Good guys.
and everybody, all the players in that program for keeping it together this year. Keeping it together, battling through, having one last hurrah for Siena Heights there. All right, Pikeville Reinhardt, winner of that game, goes to the postseason. Losers stay home. Florida Memorial St. Thomas. This game was more interesting a week ago before Florida Memorial lost to Ave Maria. But St. Thomas needs this win now to keep their hopes alive for an at-large. If St. Thomas loses to Florida Memorial, then they're not in the conversation for an at-large anymore. They need the win, so they stay in the conversation. And Southwestern at Kansas Wesleyan, some of that bubble scenario we talked about gets sorted this week, where I think the winner of this game then legitimately has an argument to be on the bubble, maybe be that last spot in. I think the loser is done. They're out. Like they're not going to make the postseason. So thoughts on these games, Pat?
Yeah. Reinhardt, take care of business. Let's make it easy. St. Thomas, I don't see it, Jason. Even with a win, I don't see it. And I kind of feel the same way about, the at-large situation in the KCAC. Like both those teams, I like Southwestern KW, just don't see it. Just not quite consistent enough in a very, very deep and good league, but both really had great seasons, in my opinion. Interesting game, though.
Going to hire Eric for an editor. The game is at Siena Heights. I had that wrong on this previous slide. So Siena Heights getting the final home game, too.
Yeah,
it makes it a little more interesting.
Sure.
So, yes, thanks for that. All right. That's it. We got through it, Pat. We got a couple comments to get to here. How does Dakota State get in? What are their chances percent-wise? 20% right now?
It'll 20.5.
Ooh. You've run the calculation on that. That's good.
No idea.
It's very good of you.
I have no idea.
No, I would say 20% just because there's 5-6 teams in there right now, and it's tough to make an argument for one over the other without knowing how some of these other games play out. With everybody that we had listed there on the at-large, St. Thomas loses, yeah, their chance is a little bit better. Georgetown loses, chance is a little bit better. If for some reason McPherson, I don't even know who McPherson plays this week. I probably should know that. I feel like they're going to take care of business.
I'm telling you, William Penn and St. Ambrose.
St. Ambrose, that's another one.
I'm telling you, I'm scared of that one, man.
That's definitely a scary game.
Be aware.
Yep.
Don't take that one lightly, boys.
I'll guarantee you, Coach Benavidez has focused those guys going into this week, and said, guys, like we are there, we have a chance, but if we lose Saturday, all of this stuff we've done this season is all for naught. So, man, it's been crazy. It has been a crazy year, Pat. I can't remember. Is this episode 53 or 54 that we've done together now?
Is it?
Like we're above 50. That we started doing this 3 years ago, just kind of coming back, and now we have like people watching us and paying attention to what we say. You really shouldn't, people.
We're seasoned veterans. Oh yeah, we have a fan base. Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
We have a following. We get text messages like we're like some kind of like inside scoop guys. People are asking our expertise. Like we have like the hotline to the national office. Of course, you would a heck of a lot more than I would, but
I can send a text message or two and get some answers, and I don't abuse it. Like I don't do the what's going to go on with this and this and this there and there. Usually, it's something. I don't try to get privilege over what anything else that is out there. Usually, it's along the lines of when's the performance index going to start coming out? When's this going to be released? And I'll probably send a message this week like, hey, just timeline for Sunday. Like we're planning on starting our show for everybody that's watching. We're doing our show next week. We're going to start a half hour early. So 6:30 Central, or excuse me, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central next week. So set your calendar to catch us a little early. But I want to know timing for next week. Like, are we going to be watching a video online again and doing it, or are we going to get like a press release sent to us and then we get to announce it? What are we hosting the selection show? We're not hosting the selection show.
Have they not asked you yet?
No.
Because I put on the Heart of America I keep calling her the Heart pregame, the Clash of the Week show. And there's your glorious face, like always. I do enjoy it. And we do our little, our pre-recorded segment, which is fun. So are you saying next week I probably need to have my guitar tuned and I could maybe like fill some time or something like that?
Also,
you like to sing on the
Rick
show.
Neuheisel. Yeah, you could be like the Rick Neuheisel of the NAIA.
I'm way better than him. Come on.
Are you?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Come on. I need to get the really good guitar. This is like my junk guitar in the corner over here. Yeah, we'll have to fill some time. We never know. Because last year was kind of an excrement show.
But we at least know there's probably going to be 2 sources for the stream this year. So I'll make sure I've got those up because that's what kind of screwed us last year's.
What was it last? It was on YouTube, simultaneous with YouTube, and then
it was Urban Edge last year, but they were on a different server last year because it crashed it last year. Like everybody, like when I heard it was they were going to try to do it on there. Having been a guy that's hosted some things streaming wise in the past, and like you tell people, Selection Sunday, there's going to be more eyes and ears and people watching the NAIA than ever before. And whatever your web traffic is that you're used to getting on your busiest day, it will be 10 times that. Like I could show you my Google Analytics that shows the traffic for Victory Sports Network. And if you zoom out, it looks like a heart that's borderline dying. It's got the little blips. It's got the little blips like this throughout the year. And then there's Selection Sunday that is clear up here. And then it's back down here. I mean, that is, and when I used to cover NAIA basketball back in the day, it would be the same thing. The day that the brackets got announced, just there are more eyes on the NAIA postseason than ever, every single year. So I just hope whatever service they're hosting this on, Pat, like fire up them servers, give them a little more bandwidth. Make sure you're not running that thing on Wi-Fi. Make sure you got a plug connection. That's what I'm saying.
I still think the viewership should be, cranked up on show in general, but that's just me.
Yeah.
And definitely for like our story time, all of our great stories that we talk about, interesting things. Certainly.
Yes. One of the things that we do occasionally we do our For Love of the NAIA segment. Now I do have a little bit of a local contribution to this. It's not NAIA direct, but it is NAIA adjacent in a way. Because it's as I tell you this story, you'll be like, I could see that happening at the NAIA level. So I live in Fargo, North Dakota. Fargo is on the border of Minnesota. There's a river that runs through here, the Red River of the North, for those of you that care. It flows north, too, by the way. On the other side is Moorhead. Moorhead High School last week went into the cities, as we call them up here, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, and they beat Centennial down there. And they were like the 7 seed, beat the 1. So big win for Moorhead. They're all the way in Minneapolis, which is a 3.5-hour drive from here. They had ordered, 40 pizzas to be delivered to their bus after the game. And they're waiting. They're not there. They're calling. They're not there. They've already paid for them, mind you. And they said, we'll have them there at this time, and they're 15 minutes late. So they finally get a hold of Papa John's. And the kid at Papa John's goes, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I'm really sorry. I'm the only one here tonight, and I can't get the order done. So the coach goes on the bus and says, who here has pizza making experience? And like 5 kids raised their hand. They drove the bus to the Papa John's that the pizzas were supposed to be made at. And the 5 kids that have worked in fast food making pizza made the pizzas at this Papa John's for the team so that they could get on the bus and drive the 3.5 hours back. So for all you NAIA coaches out there, that right there, plan on that scenario in the future. The next time they say your food's not done, go in, ask the bus, hey, who here has worked making pizza before? We got a little bonus activity tonight.
I like that story. That's a good one.
That is. It was on the news here locally too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably, that's a good one. I like it. There's got to be something out there like that from the NAIA.
Oh, absolutely.
Guaranteed something along those lines for sure. I think of all of our travel stories over the years, and remember going and playing in Kentucky, playing Lindsey Wilson. We were eating somewhere, and I think the only option to eat was a place called Shoney's in the southeastern part of the United States. And I remember, Jason, that entire meal, there was not one single thing that wasn't fried.
Well, I remember Pickwick Inn in Savannah, man.
Catfish.
Pancake, catfish, same thing. Everything was fried on that buffet.
Jason, I can tell you, I'm a heavy man. I like food. I can't eat catfish. This is like one thing I just can't do. It's just not a thing. And I like fried fish. Don't get me wrong. Fried catfish is not my thing. It's a little funky to me. It's a little, it's a bottom feeder. Now I'm good. It's a hard pass for me.
Yeah,
you know?
I'll leave.
I'm not a picky man. I'm not. I just can't do catfish. Not my thing.
This week I could be eating quite a bit of stuff. So my week is pretty crazy. It's a regular work day for me tomorrow to go in and do my normal everyday job. But then I'm actually on vacation Tuesday through Saturday. I will be in Florida, going to Orlando. Family's going down there. This is kind of like the in-laws. They don't really do a lot for Thanksgiving, but we like to do a thing like a weekend or two before Thanksgiving. And we decided, hey, let's take the whole family there. So it's wife, mom, dad, sister, my little 2-year-old baby. We're all going to Florida. So it is stone crab season. So I'm going to be eating me some Florida stone crab this week, baby.
Giddy up. Sounds great.
I love it.
Well, enjoy, buddy. Have fun.
It will. Yeah. Well, we should probably wrap things up. We've gone nearly an hour and a half. And, this was kind of like testing for next week because it's going to be a long show next week. So kind of, get the vocal cords in order. We're used to an hour. We're up to an hour and a half. Next week will probably be a 2-hour show. So we'll have a lot to talk about. Do appreciate everybody's comments. Do appreciate everybody sending us their stuff and asking questions. Continue to ask them on X or Facebook or email, and I'll try to get answers out there. And anything that we were wrong about, feel free to point out. I don't have an ego. If I was wrong, I'm wrong. Just look, I want to make sure we get it right and we get the information out there. So anything you got to say before we wrap up, buddy?
No, enjoy vacation and looking forward to Selection Sunday next week. Should be fun.
Next Sunday, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central, right here on the Victory Sports Network's channels on YouTube, the Urban Edge Network, X, Facebook, and Instagram. We're on all of them. Hell, we might throw in TikTok next week. Who knows? We're going to be on them all, talking NAIA football next week. For Pat Donnelly, I'm Jason Dannelly. This has been NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley from the Victory Sports Network. Get on out there and enjoy some NAIA football. We'll see you next week, folks.